On this episode, we talk about the Kardashians, time machines, and other stuff.
A user on Quora asks, what advice would you give to yourself if you could go back in time 1 year?
Man, I hate time machine questions because that's like the hardest question to ask and answer. Mainly because time is like the number one dimension that's most important. It's the most powerful one because you can go back and forth in space. You can't go back and forth in time. I don't believe all time machine movies are realistic or will ever happen. So that being said, advice and to a younger me is always valuable. If someone could give me an advice from me a year later, that would be helpful to me now, as would anyone's advice to themselves be. I think the number one advice from a year ago, James would have wanted to hear would have to do with the business that Media Day is becoming. Exactly a year ago, June 2018. I mean, we were starting to make an impact felt, but it was still very much a mom and pop shop operation. It was just kind of a scrappy, who knows, hopefully this will works out. And we just were hiring the first sort of bunch of people that were going to make a difference. And I would have never thought that it would be so substantial only a year later. And just imagine 2 years ago, that would have been an absolute unimaginable thought to go 2 years later and imagine 12 people in an office on Broad Street, Center City, Philadelphia. That was unreasonable to even think about. But I wanted that, right? And I wanted to build that, and I didn't know how to get there, and I was anxious every day about getting there, and what are the steps, and how do I do that, and what if it doesn't work, and what if I can't do it, right? All the self-doubts you have early on with every new endeavor you start. So the number one advice I would give is not to worry, is not to have anxiety, really depend on providence, and depend on your ability, and just have confidence that there's a larger plan unraveling, and you're a part of that plan, and whatever will happen with you will be the best version of that. And so it's going to be fine. So once I put on that frame of mind, right, even if Media Day didn't work, that would have been the best thing that would happen to me, because who knows if I wouldn't go on to start something else, or get a job and and teach something valuable to my son, my newborn son, that right now maybe I wouldn't be able to because I'm too busy being in an office more than most people, right? You never know the trade-offs, and you never know the alternatives of what life brings and what could have been and what should have been. You only know what has and has happened is happening. So having regret and dwelling on what could have, would have, should have is a mistake, and I just don't think of it that way. And the biggest way I go around not thinking that is this thought that everything's for the best. Even the worst disaster is always for the best. And it might not be visible until 10 years go by. And it's interesting, even watching people that committed a crime in their teen years and then went to prison for 20 years, God forbid. Watching them on a TV show discussing their life, they're always better than the person they were in the beginning. I mean, they went through insane things, obviously, and I don't wish that for anybody, but in some way, maybe I do wish that for people. Whatever helps you get through the darkness and through the other side, even if it's misery of a temporary nature, it's always for the best. So, yeah, I can't think of a single case of a person that has gone through difficulty and hasn't come out for the better, which is one of the reasons why difficulty is so important and so valuable, and challenging yourself and having a difficult life is an advantage within reason. Right? You don't want to be just buffeted by life to a point where you give up, obviously. But right up until you give up, everything less than that, if it doesn't kill you, make you stronger. I believe in that with all my heart, and the best way to overcome things that seem like they will kill you is to know that it's for the best and not worry, not have anxiety because it's going to be okay.
Another user on Quora asks, what scares you about Google?
Well, that's a softball question. I often joke in our company, I call Google like the Antichrist or the devil almost every day. Google is pretty evil, mainly because, well, there's two reasons. One, Google has a facade of benevolence, like Facebook. It's the same facade of, we're here to help you, it's free, we're like connecting the world, we're making the world more connected, more together, blah, blah, blah. So you get this free product that is extremely expensive to produce. And in fact, so complicated, no one's been able to reproduce Google's product, the search engine. That's how much like space age, rocket ship technology, whatever, is in there, as is Facebook. So you get this expensive, incredibly rare thing for free, and you're like, hey, that's great, I can find everything I want on the internet. What's the downside? The downside is you sell your soul, in a way. And the reason I say that is because Google ends up being the place where your life is recorded in a way that you can't control, and you can't stop, and you can't fix, and you can't opt out of it, right? So in a world that's becoming much more privacy invasive and much more prone to risk, and because if Google were like a rock or like a planet or a force of nature like gravity that had your information, that's one thing. But it's people that have your information, and people are flawed, and people will take advantage of power they have. And knowledge is power, information is power. So giving all this power to Google means not just that some entity out there has it, but that people, flawed, broken people, have knowledge about you that makes you vulnerable, makes all of us vulnerable. So the trade-off in getting this powerful search engine is you let broken people control your whole life in a way you can't stop. And that's why I am a big, big advocate of privacy search engines like DuckDuckGo.com. No endorsement there, but I use it myself. And what's good about DuckDuckGo.com is it's a stupid name. I wish they changed it, but they don't track you or they don't store anything about you. So they have their own search crawler through the internet, and it's not as perfect as Google's, because Google's perfect in that. But their pitch to the user is, we don't store anything about you. We forget everything about you as soon as you make the search. We don't keep anything about you. So that's going to be the future for every platform. As we get into more and more invasive, like drones flying up to people's windows, Facebook collecting information about you, even when you're not logged into it, right? Google trying to assemble your whole life story and then sell it to the highest bidder. As all of us become more and more educated about that and aware of the dangers and the discomfort it's causing us, we're all gonna switch. Like, we'll switch from Facebook to Minds. Minds is like Facebook, but better and safer and open source. It's only got 1 million subscribers right now, but that's already 1 million. And instead of Google, we'll be using DuckDuckGo. And I like also living to where the technology is going into, where the future is headed. So if the world is heading into more privacy, that means by using it, I get to be in the stream of technology that's developing and emerging. And for me, living in the media landscape, it's important to be on top of what's emerging and what's happening, what's unfolding and developing, what's coming up. And if you're not living in that, still I think you should use it. It's just better to the more things are going, like what Gary Vee says, the more things are going Jetsons, the more the people want to go back to Flintstones.
A user on Quora asks, why is Kim Kardashian so popular? Why do people like Kim Kardashian so much? Who is her fan base?
Yeah, Kardashians. Uh, well, yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, Kardashians are like an empire. They're like the unforeseen empire. Um, Number one, I would say there's a few things I would say. I think two of the sisters are basically the smartest media savvy women of our generation. Kim is obviously the biggest one, and even though she didn't go with a route that I would advise, with having a sex tape that launched her reputation, um, she knew that would launch it, and it did. And she didn't rest on the laurels, such as they were. But she continued building on that. So, and then she like cleaned up her image, ish, and now she's no longer thought of as the person in that video necessarily. Um, but she had a very strong, very acute sense of media and pop culture, and exploiting that to basically rise from obscurity and not really being anyone worth talking about. Now she is very much the number one most talked about sort of average person out there. What's her sister's name or her cousin? Kylie is smarter than Kim Kardashian. Kylie never had to go the sex tape route, but she went all into media platforms which were disrespected by like mainstream fashion brands. So she has her show on Snapchat, and by show I mean she has an account on Snapchat that she does like makeup demonstrations like on her wrist. She would like swipe different makeup shades and like show them to the camera, and that's what she did. That's the whole show, just her account, selfieing herself and her makeup, and that catapulted her brand to $1 billion in sales, maybe even sales. I mean, for sure valuation, but maybe even sales. I mean, she's the first like under 30 billionaire, and no one's really replicated her success and tried to make a show on Snapchat. But all the commercial mainstream media entities like Cosmo and all those people, the best they can do is like pay Snapchat money to be put into like their stories, like their news. What is that called? Like this one? No, like to the right, when you swipe to the right. Whatever. There's like a stories section on Snapchat where a lot of the commercial brands pop up and they try to promote themselves and they have like short videos about stuff. But no one ever goes there because nobody likes to consume commercial information. No one likes to have things fed to you. So if you use Snapchat at all, which went through a bit of a downturn, but it's kind of on a swing back, I think. But if you use Snapchat, you're only going to use the friends section just to communicate with friends, and that's where she was. And she's the only one, her and Gary Vee. But even Gary has like, has like commercial type stuff, like animations and like promotional stuff. Very little about himself. So by being in places where nobody else is, and by promoting herself in an authentic, very clean, natural way that's not commercialized, it's not inauthentic and fake and made up, just and she is also a master of makeup. Like she looks like amazing, but the unmade up version of her is kind of like okay. So she's the master of the craft herself, and people just tune in to watch a pretty girl put on makeup. And nobody thought that made much of an impact because you can't really see unless you're her account. You can't see how many other people are like tuned in or friendly with her. I don't think you can see all the connections the Snapchat account has. Nobody thought it was that much, and then like a few months ago, last month, it was announced that she's worth $1 billion, and that's brains. All right, well, that's our show. Send us your questions. I'd love to connect and chat and have a discussion more on these topics. Peacing out.
Peace.